Hi, beautiful soul, and welcome to How to Be a Psychic Medium, a free 5-day international virtual retreat for spiritual seekers. I am Marta, the host of this retreat and the founder of the Psychic Mediumship Academy. This magical gathering is proudly sponsored by my 10-week Psychic Mediumship Foundation course, a transformative journey designed to help you build trust in your intuitive gifts, connect deeply with spirit, and grow in confidence as a psychic medium. If you're watching this live, we are starting the next round in just a couple of weeks. So if it resonates, feel free to DM me on Instagram or email me at info@martathemedium.com. And if you're watching the replay of it, you're also very welcome to reach out and I'll let you know when the next cohort begins. Now, I am so excited to introduce today's guest. Hello, Amy.
Hello, Marta. Thank you so much for having me.
So lovely to have you. So I am absolutely delighted to welcome Amy Leigh Mercree. Amy is a best-selling author of 19 books, including The Spiritual Girl's Guide to Dating, The Compassion Revolution, A Little Bit of Chakras, The Mood Book, and Aura Alchemy, among others. She's also the creator of Atomic Healing and the Atomic Element Healing Oracle, her Oracle deck. And Amy is a world-renowned medical intuitive with 24 years of experience, a media personality, and a holistic health expert. She teaches internationally on powerful topics such as meteor goddess guides, ancestral and karmic shamanism, spirit writing with the grandmothers of the 7 directions, and the Atomic Healing Method, medical intuitive certification. Using a blend of science and spirituality, Amy specializes in finding the root cause of imbalances in the body and has helped thousands uncover their body's wisdom to heal. Her work has been featured in Forbes, Oprah Daily, Women's Health, Mind, Body, Green, Well and Good, NBC, and more. Amy, thank you again for being here with us.
Thank you so much, Marta. I'm so excited to be here and get to talk to everybody who is tuning into this wonderful summit and virtual retreat.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I was wondering, would you be able to start by sharing a little bit about your childhood experiences? Because I know you talk openly about what you perceived as a child. You called those, I'll quote, tiny universe. So I'm curious whether you were aware that those were subatomic particles, or did that understanding come later?
Thank you for asking such a fun question. Yes, when I was a child, from an early age, when I would be outside playing, so out in nature, in, kind of like hands in the dirt and everything, I would see what I called nature sparkles. And those nature sparkles they felt benevolent. I mean, as a child, you can imagine, you don't necessarily, I don't know, like pay a lot of attention to it. It's just kind of there. And they were my friends, but not friends that necessarily I would have like a full on conversation with, but they were always in motion, like kind of sparkles in the area on the dirt and around the plants and, different things. And so I would see those for a long time. And as I got a little bit older in 6th grade, we did a unit on the atom. So I always remember the textbook was called Matter, Matter Everywhere. And it was just such a transformative thing for me as a kid, because I'd always thought about what things were made of. And I had always seen the nature sparkles and watched them interact with things, usually outdoors. Occasionally I'd see them, I'd see them in the sky, I'd see them at the plant. Occasionally I'd see them indoors, but primarily I'd see them outdoors. And so I didn't really know what they were. And then when we started to learn about atoms and what they were made of, which, now we know a lot more. But back then, it was really enlightening for me. And then I did start to really look at what I did think of as a tiny universe, but start to maybe be able to put some context to it. The protons, the neutrons, the electrons, like the rudimentary things we now know about atoms. And that opened my eyes so much to the multidimensional side of particle physics. I was talking to Karen Kay, who's another Hay House author, the other day, and we were talking. So she has a lot of decks on fairies and things like that. And so she sees a lot of fairy beings. I certainly always have, now I kind of think of these beings I was seeing as elementals, but also as this subatomic universe. And so Karen was telling a story of her asking for an eye test. And I was telling her in 6th grade, that same year when we were learning about matter, I was in school and they did an eye test. Like they did I don't know if they do that in school now, but they did an eye test. And I told the eye doctor, I see these sparkles and they look like this and here's where they are. And I had a perfect vision. And he said, you have floaters in your eye. That's what he called it. But it was the being. So she had a very similar experience, a little bit different, but they just told her it's nothing. Your vision's good, So I kind of am curious from our listeners, if people who see, whether they're elementals, fairy folk, whatever, nature sparkles, many of us see them, especially as kids. How many people asked for an eye test or had one? So yeah, as I got older, I started to have more context for the science side, and it really fit with what I'd been seeing. And then especially as I got older and there was more available theoretically around, the smaller particles, the fermions, the bosons, all the particles and the force and the charge that make up our world and our universe, it fit with elements of what I'd seen. When I was 18 and I started to train with my late medicine teacher, and then the world of shamanism opened up to me, the world of multidimensionality opened up to me, I was able to really start going into that from a shamanic sense and learning in an experiential way about it too.
Well, since you've already mentioned about shamanism, could you share a little bit about your shamanic roots and how that journey began for you, and perhaps who some of your earliest teachers or influencers were?
Yeah. When I was 18, I took Reiki first, and my mom and I took it, I think, because her friend had somebody teaching it, and we were taking yoga. And then when I was 18, I took a class with the Foundation for Shamanic Studies, which was founded by Michael Harner. The class I took was taught by David Corbin and Nan Moss, and they're still teaching, I believe, for the Foundation for Shamanic Studies. It was a great class, and we did, power animal kind of stuff, like real traditional shamanic, cross-cultural shamanic stuff. And in that class, I had a partner who, you journeyed for each other. And she said, you need to work on past lives. And there's a woman in my town who specializes in that. Her name's Lori. So I went to Lori, and she ended up becoming my medicine teacher. We did work on past lives for sure. But over time, I became her apprentice, one of her first apprentices. And so I got a really great background from her. And not that many of us have the gift of a truly present teacher like that. I mean, until she passed in 2019, I was, able to call her if something was going on. I mean, at that point, I was deep into my career, and if I had questions or, needed support, I could call her. Now I call her Spirit, and she still helps. But it's different, although in some, neither better nor worse, because now she's got all kinds of energetic pull out and about, so she helps with things, which is nice. But so that was part of that early foundation. I also worked with a woman named Bella Johnson, who was a medical intuitive. And you would go to her in person. She was very talented. And, so I was working through some healing things on my own. And her method was definitely different than what I now do. At that it makes me sound old, but that was 28, 29 years ago. It's a long time ago. So her, it's different than what I do, but it was very transformative to start to see what was possible, learning from these teachers in a multidimensional way, and then also have always had this interest in science and physics, and all these things, to watch these things weave together over many years of my own journeying and my own exploration.
I love it. Thank you so much. Could you tell us a little bit about the atomic healing method and how it integrates with your work as a medical intuitive? Because I'm hoping that will inspire anyone who's drawn to doing anything intuitive, anything medical. And I'm especially also curious how you weave together science and shamanism and perhaps other modalities.
Yes, I love to. So I created the atomic healing method over 24 years as a medical intuitive, and it's evolved. So, I've named it in the last 10 or so years, but all that time I was evolving my method of finding the root cause of people's ailments, whatever they came to the session with, which, there are times when it's not a medical thing either. It could be things in their life or whatever, but I did begin to develop a specialty for these physical things in the body. And it's very important to always note that I am not a doctor. I am, always only providing information from your spirit guides, and everybody's always advised to consult their health practitioner. But sometimes this information can help people figure out what direction to go and find what is the root cause of something that isn't clearing, or, whatever reason they're coming to find the root cause, whether they do that first or whether they've tried lots of things and then they come in for the root cause. So my method kind of developed over time. I have few different things I think that give me kind of a unique brain that help me create the method, but now I teach it to people too. So it's totally teachable. But when I journey, and a lot of us are ADHD people, because my prefrontal cortex can be a little bit more relaxed. That's what ADHD is. We have a little bit of an underactive prefrontal cortex. But then when I'm journeying, or I'm also trying to find this root cause when I'm working with somebody in session, because we can also hyper focus for short periods on things we find really interesting, or if we have a due date or something, I can squeeze sort of my intuitive antenna center, which is already, I don't know, I came in with it kind of high tuned anyways. I had to learn to get grounded. So I can kind of squeeze that awareness and drill down to find the root cause, and then reverse engineer the process back to what we want, which is, optimal, perfect health or resolution of the cause. The cause could be, so many things. I use a lot of traditional Chinese medicine. There's lots of ancestral karmic stuff, emotional things, mental things. There's gene expression things. There's things about the way, this is where it goes atomic, is the way a cell is or is not correctly ionized, or the way a cell membrane is not behaving the way we need it to. So sometimes we go down into that tiny universe inside the body to find those root causes, and then we are able to figure out how to fix it. So that's kind of how the atomic healing method started to evolve. And then I started training apprentices. I've taught shamanism for 24 years, many different things, and certain apprentices would end up getting trained in all of that method. And so then eventually I decided to create a certification so more people could do it. And that atomic healing method contains a lot of specific proprietary things that I can, I do, but they learn to do. So they're able to do things, in their own way, but with these methods that I've honed too. So that atomic healing method is about medical intuitive healing in the most macro way, going into
We've
subatomic particles.
oh, you're back. You're back. Sorry, you froze for a second.
Yeah. Good?
Yes, I
Okay.
can see.
Okay. So it goes from that most macro place down to the most micro place, where it is about what is happening with subatomic particles in the body and how do we fix that or optimize that for whatever somebody's intention is. And that could be often bodily based at this time, but sometimes it does have to do with situations in people's lives too. I had like an example would be a really interesting case with a man who came in with a particular ailment. And so we went back to what was the root cause of the ailment. And there was a love triangle. So he couldn't tell me anything about his life, but I said, you had this male ancestor. He fell in love with this married woman back in the 1800s, basically stole her away. And the husband, the jilted husband, was mad, did something physically to the guy and crippled him, and it changed a gene expression. And then, why does it only come down to certain people? For whatever reason, we have lots of theories why that could be. So I said, once we clear almost like that curse, the guy was really mad at the other guy. And the other guy thought he deserved it, so he let that energy in. It changed his gene expression, and I think there was like a physical component. Once we change that and we remove that, then it's sort of like the magnet that was holding his ailment in place would be removed, and then it could clear. And he said, that is his exact situation. He was in love with a married woman, and he'd replayed the exact situation that his ancestor had experienced. So then that's why it got activated. So that's an example where it is a multi-dimensional thing that's happening physically in the body, but it's also based on genes, ancestral experiences, emotions, feelings of self-worth or not, lots of different things, which are thoughts as well. So it's a lot of fun.
And I love it, especially for those who are now hoping to maybe train, like the course that you've created, the certification. It feels so beautiful whether you're into science or not, because like you can learn so much about science, but then I know, and I've heard you talking about journeying and learning about like plants, you can still do a little bit of shamanic component into that. So I find it fascinating that there are all those different layers to it.
It's a highly experiential course too, because you learn, first you work on yourself, and then eventually you have partners. You're learning the plants, the science. I use a lot of traditional Chinese medicine too, because when we look at the organ meridians, we really see a lot. There's some seasonal correlations with that. When we optimize that, a lot of times that's helpful in preventing and remedying some of the imbalance that we find. So yeah, it's exciting to get to teach it. And the people who, are drawn to take the certification are always such amazing people. It's always an awesome group too, where you're just like, oh, this is like totally meant to be everybody's soul family. So it's a privilege to get to teach it, honestly.
I love it. And many of our attendees are curious, I'm sure, about their own soul gifts. What advice do you have for those seeking clarity on their path or trying to find their own unique healing modality?
That's a great question. I think a lot of it is about trying different things, and sometimes noticing too that things change. So I did a lot of work. I wrote a lot of books about chakras earlier in my career. Now I teach a lot more about traditional Chinese medicine because that's what's changed and what showed up for me. So I think it's noticing what you resonate with And, looking at different teachers, reading different books, tuning in, you can see too with people who you like their book or you like their work, who else are they friends with? Because energetically, you're probably going to like that too, trying different modalities and putting those together in a way that works for you. So you might take pieces of different things.
Thank you. I love it. Could you talk a little bit about your new oracle deck, Atomic Element Healing
I would
Oracle?
love to.
And perhaps you could pull a card or so
I would
if
love
it
to.
resonates with you.
I would love to do that. So the Atomic Element Healing Oracle, there's kind of a fun story behind it. This was the first book I wrote. So I started this 24 years ago, and I channeled it as a complete system of healing based on the periodic table of elements who came to me as living beings, like spirit guides. So it started, I was painting them, I was like channeling them and creating this whole system of healing. And it was what compelled me to find out, how do you publish a book? How do you publish a card deck? What is a literary agent? Like I didn't know about any of it. It was a long time ago. And it took me 6 years to find a literary agent, which I do teach a course, by the way, called Bestseller Bootcamp, to teach you how to publish a book, if you would like to ever do that, anybody who's watching. Because this deck, if we count journals, decks, books, this is my 19th project. So I have a lot of books, a lot of decks, a lot of journals. There's 4 journals, not that many, but one of these is turned over. Let's turn her back because we want to see who wants to talk to us today. Yes. So I channeled the elements as this total, complete system of healing. And then they really shaped my life and my work as a medical intuitive. That's why it's atomic healing. This was the foundation for it. So at that point, I was shown in 2005, they were all channeled in. I was finishing it up. And I was shown that this deck would be published by Hay House and be all over the world. And it showed me where it would be, the exact places. UK, Australia, India, all these specific places. So I was like, okay, with decks, sometimes we knock on it to clear it, by the way. So I was like, okay, so how do I do that? So I tried, and it didn't happen. So then I was like, well, I'll try another book. I tried 2 more books. Then the Spiritual Girl's Guide to Dating got picked up. It did have a different title when it was shopped, but close. So 20 years went by. And then I got to publish Alchemy, and Hay House wanted to publish the Atomic Element Healing Oracle. And the places I saw are where all the Hay House offices are now.
Wow.
But it took 20 years. So in the interim, it was all meant to be, because we needed Katja Perez, who's down there below, to do the art on this deck, because much as I would have loved to have done the art, my art's not as good. Her art's amazing. I can't draw faces. So let's pick a card for all of our listeners who are hearing this live or on its replay. Ooh, neon. Total blessing. So I'm going to read you what we have for neon. So in this deck, every element, not every, 44 out of many, but 44 elements of the periodic table they have an archetypal healing essence. They also have a guide you've heard of associated with them. And it's not just associated with them. What that means is all of the neon in the universe is part of the being Neon's body, who's also incarnated as the goddess Lakshmi in this case. So it's a message from Neon, who's also Lakshmi. So sometimes we might know most of the time we know the guide. There's a few you may never have heard of, but most of them you'll know. But it's also about the element as a living being. So when you work with this deck, all of the neon in your body can be tuned up to its highest frequency. And we all have a little bit of everything. Maybe not Darm Stadium, which is created in a lab, but its energetic essence will work with you. So you can take the card and put it on your body to let that be like a portal and tune up all the neon in your body, even if it's very little, which in the case of neon,
I love it.
Should be very little. It's probably very trace amounts. And even if it's not in your body, it will tune you up to total blessing. So the atomic symbol of neon is Ne, and its atomic number is 10, which means it has 10 protons and 10 electrons in its pure form. The elemental archetype of neon, I'm going to read this to you from the book. You've chosen the neon card because you're ready to bust through society's limiting beliefs and choose to feel great all of the time. Raising your vibration is how you do that. Neon is sharing cosmic understanding and is upgrading your cells right now. Neon is a purveyor of uplifting light. Just like a neon sign where the neon gas is illuminated and glows, so can you. The elements, like neon, on the far right of the periodic table are noble gases. It takes a lot to knock them off their super stable game due to their lowest level of electronegativity, which is 0. Their strong outer valence shells hold their full 8 electrons. When neon is put in a low pressure environment, which is rare in nature, with a high electrical charge, some of those electrons jump from their stable outer shell to their higher energy inner shell. When they rest back into their outer shell, they emit a glow, a packet of photons, which are light. That glow is what you see in neon signs. Neon's stable structure makes it able to glow and radiate, and you can do the same. All of the neon in the universe is part of the being neon's body. That being is also incarnated as the Hindu goddess Lakshmi. She bestows blessings and good fortune made of glowing light. Neon is the 5th most common element in the universe and is naturally present in small quantities on Earth. The vibrational healing message of neon. You've chosen this card to receive. Neon brings you a total light blessing right now. Breathe in the light. Feel it shower you, as if a golden faucet above you has been turned on, and bright white light is cascading out and through you. Say yes. Receive the light blessing and allow it to be constant. The faucet is on permanently. You're the light. The energetic healing properties of neon are illuminating and enlivening. There are no dietary sources needed. And the affirmation is, I am made of light. So let's all say it. Repeat after me.
Yeah.
I am made of light.
I am made of light.
And I dispense blessings.
And I dispense blessings.
To all beings, including myself.
To all beings, including myself. So beautiful. So powerful.
So that's our card, neon. That's a nice
one. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting
Thank you. Before we close, is there a message or blessing you feel called to share with everyone watching?
Just for everybody that you matter, that you're an intricate and integral part of the weave of life in all dimensions. You're not here by accident. It's not just a coincidence. You chose to be here. You're meant to be here, and you matter. And I wish you to live in your zone of genius and to live a life of joy, ease, and pleasure. And I hope that you're able to align with that, and using the tools that you have, you're learning in this virtual retreat and more, you will be able to.
Amy, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your presence, and your heart.
Thank you, Marta. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. And for those of you watching, you can learn more about Amy at amyleighmercree.com or find her on Instagram at Amy Leigh Mercree.
Yes.
And remember, this retreat is here to awaken your gifts, deepen your trust, and help you remember your connection with spirit. Thank you for being here, and I'm sending you so much love. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.